Guys, what is up? If you're like me and you shop for clothes online, you probably get bombarded with ads for online clothing sites, clothing brands like Cuts, like Built Basics. But recently this one brand, 1010 Apparel, has been just absolutely taking over my timeline. So naturally, eventually it caught my attention, and I couldn't help but notice that their products looked so similar to Cuts clothing that I had to import some of their product and see for myself if this is just a Cuts clothing absolute knockoff or if they've actually got something unique going on here. So I brought in a few pieces from their lineup. Let's go ahead, open this guy up, see what we got, and then compare it to Cuts clothing. Let's jump into it. Okay, so we've opened up our 1010 gear. If you've ever shopped at Cuts clothing before, this packaging is even very close to what they do with their stuff. And you can see it's just a nice little zipper at the top. We'll go ahead and open these up. I bought 3 pairs in a couple of different colors just to get a different sense of the fit and the finish and the material. So as you can see, this is a long sleeve. I do actually have a Cuts clothing shirt just like this. The same color, same style, everything. So this will be very interesting head to head. I also picked up one of their Stratus polos. Apparently this is one of their top selling products. At least online it appears identical to the polo from Cuts that I'm wearing right now. Their packaging, their branding is just not quite as nice as Cuts, but I think at a surface level, so far the product's looking very, very similar. And then this is just another long sleeve with the curve, and it's another color, navy blue. First, I'll try them on, see what the fit is like, and then I'll show you guys a comparison between this and Cuts, and I'll give you my thoughts, how it stacks up against the much more expensive Cuts clothing competitor. All right, guys, so we're upstairs. Visually and aesthetically, they're so similar that I'm so intrigued to find out if this stuff is just another Cuts knockoff or if it's actually a decent stuff. And considering I bought this with my own money, I am hoping that it's decent stuff that I would actually wear out in public. Otherwise, I guess we're also gonna have to do a follow-up video on how their returns policy works, because there's no way I'm gonna keep some cheap crap. So right now I'm wearing a traditional Cuts t-shirt. Their style is the curve hem. You can see how it's a little bit longer. It's a little bit kind of rounded at the bottom. Other than that, Cuts, of course, it's very fitting. So it's like a stretchy material. It hugs your body very well. It's not always the most flattering depending on the piece, but basically 1010 Apparel, they market their stuff exactly the same as you saw on when we did the unboxing. It says curved right on them, and that indicates, again, that curved hemline. They're going for a very almost undistinguishable comparative material and style to what Cuts is doing. Let's see what the 1010 blue top looks like. All right, 1010 navy blue top on. Let's talk about it. So first, visually, it's a little bit longer than the Cuts piece. Quite a bit longer, actually. The bottom of the shirt comes down a couple of inches longer at least. But as you can see, otherwise it's hugging very similarly to how the Cuts piece did. And not gonna lie, it doesn't feel that terrible. To be honest, it's actually quite comfy and quite well fitted. I will say it's maybe a little bit harder of a material, if that makes sense. The Cuts stuff definitely is softer on the skin. This is ever so slightly rougher. I don't know if that's gonna make sense to anybody. I don't think the branding is as nice. Now, I'm gonna open up the pink red piece, but I'm gonna compare it against the Cuts one that I've got that's like literally so close to being the same. Like it's wild. Let's check that out. All right, guys, so here is the Cuts long sleeve top, curve hem long sleeve top. I don't remember what this color was called, but it's basically like a pinkish reddish. It's quite a nice color. It's got a little bit of white in it that kind of lightens it up. Again, very nice, soft material, very stretchy, very well fitting. But let's just come over here to this one from 1010, which is very similar, like absurdly similar. This one doesn't have the white speckle, and the tone is a little bit maybe brighter, so it's a bit more on the pink end. Even like look at the stitching detail, the position of the tag, stitching detail, position of the tag. It's a damn good knockoff, let's put it that way. Kudos to 1010 for giving it a pretty good effort. So here is the 1010 top. Yeah, as you can see, aesthetically very similar to what we had going on with the blue top. The fit, yeah, it's not offensive. It does, again, hug very nicely in the arms. It's very well fitting. Kudos to them, because this is very similar to what Cuts and Built and the other brands are doing in terms of material and fit and finish. Now let me just throw on the Cuts top and do a split screen to show you just how crazy similar these two are. Okay, and now here we are in the Cuts top, same color. From a distance on camera like this, can you actually tell the difference? I honestly don't think you'd be able to. Same fit here, maybe a little bit looser from lots of wear and washing, but the rest, everything else, is exactly the same as that 1010. The 1010, again, maybe a little bit longer in terms of where the hemline is, but the style, the look, the feel, so close. Just going between the two right now, I can feel this is way more premium. So we got one more piece to try on, which is a polo, and I'll see if all of these pieces are very good or if the polo is where it's gonna fall short. All right, starting off with the Cuts polo, again in black, curve head finish on it, as you'll see here as I back up. Well fitting. It's got 2 buttons here and does have a soft collar, which can sometimes be a bit of a nuisance. I do find I always have to iron it to keep it in shape throughout the day. I wear this to work because it's quite a nice look. The branding's super minimal, and when you tuck it into your jeans or your trousers or your chinos or whatever you're wearing, it kind of disappears and it's like a brandless black polo. Our good friends of the channel, Mott & Bow, do a good style that's like this as well. Now let's see what the gray Stratus one from 1010 fits and feels like. Okay, so here we go. 1010 polo time. Already I've got some questions about it. So first of all, the way they've done the sleeve is definitely not as flattering as the Cuts one, and the collar is huge, like much bigger. I find bigger collars just not as nice. It's harder when you're layering to like tuck a big collar under a sweater. Collar is probably a little bit too big for my personal liking, but maybe not for yours. It's quite long for a polo, but again, some people might not mind. The one thing that I'm not loving is it's a very thin material. You can feel that like some of the hair on my chest is even kind of like coming through. All in all, I'll give this like a 7 out of 10. It's not super offensive. I don't know if I'll keep this one. I think if you're looking for a budget polo and you don't mind sort of this style here, how they've closed the arm off, you don't mind the look, you don't mind the length, then you probably aren't going to hate these style of polos, and they are a great price. All right then, guys, we've tried everything on, shown you the fit, shown you the finish, described the material, how it feels. Time for some closing thoughts. I think 1010, compared to Cuts, compared to Built, and all these other brands of this similar nature, I think they are not half-assing it. I think they're doing a pretty decent job. This stuff does not feel terrible. It does not feel cheap, but it is much more affordable than Cuts, Built, and the like. So that's a +1. In terms of colors and how they look on camera and from a distance, you're probably not even going to be able to tell what brand it is, who it's from. It's going to look so similar. One thing of mention, well, 2 things of mention since we're at it, is the hemline and where the shirts actually end on the body. Now these are all mediums. I wear a size medium, and the branding on 1010 is at the bottom of that hemline. So these shirts go down a lot farther on the body than the Cuts pieces, at least 1, maybe 2 inches. Maybe it's going to be more if you went for a large. I'm not quite sure, but that is something to keep in mind. I've kind of come to be a fan of the longer look, but this might be getting just on the limit of too long before it starts to look like you're wearing a rag on you. The other thing, of course, too, coming back to that hemline, I don't love how this is a very large chunk of leather, and the logo, it's just not great. I mean, Cuts is nothing special either, but the branding is so minimal on their pieces. It's just very simplistic. Most people don't even pick up on it. I can appreciate the subtlety of this brand. 1010 definitely going for a little bit of a more in-your-face approach. So if you don't love screamy, showy pieces, on this one particularly, or the brighter colors, it's quite visible. Now, I did say, especially when talking about this piece, but I also mentioned feel when I was wearing these two. This one, the material, quite thin, definitely the cheapest feeling out of the bunch. So if you're looking for a polo, Cuts just does them better. The feel is better. This really deep here collar line, as you can see, quite different. Not my favorite look. And the way that they've banded here on the outside of the arm, different from what Cuts has done on their arms. Nice end. They haven't tapered it. This feels more like they're trying to create a seal to explain it in a way. And that doesn't look as flattering as the Cuts does. But also on these two, although they don't have that same issue because they fit very similarly to their Cuts counterparts, the problem I had with these is that the material was definitely a little bit more on the rough or hard feeling side. I wouldn't say rough, actually. I'd just say it was a little bit harder. These are very high quality premium material, and you can tell when you're wearing them because it feels soft, it feels expensive. These didn't feel cheap, they just didn't have that super soft, super like high-end feel in the material that the Cuts is going to have. But otherwise, outside of the polo, I would wear, and I am going to keep, these two 1010 Apparel pieces. So well done, 1010 Apparel. I'm giving you guys a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10. Once you get your polo game together, we'll try them again. Well guys, that's been my unboxing, try on, and review of 1010 Apparel. What do you guys think? Have you heard of the brand before? Are you also getting spammed to crap with ads for them? All in all, honestly, it's not that bad. The one thing I have to say is that the big guys, Cuts Clothing, Built Basics, they're not innovating. So these smaller brands are gonna come up. They're able to catch up and produce almost the exact same thing in the span of maybe a few months. 1010 Apparel is like a 7.5, 8 out of 10 brand. And if they continue to grow, innovate, expand their lineup, and do more things, who knows, maybe Cuts Clothing, Built Basics, maybe the top dogs will start to fall from grace. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon in the next one.